welcome to the Demo Dive, where I live stream myself digging through Steam's demo tags to sort the trash from the treasure. I am CB, I'm fighting a migraine, and I'm hoping the little homicidal maniac with the ice pick stops stabbing me in the right eye and temple for the next hour or so. But that's what painkillers are for, and I think I'm okay enough to do this demo. And if it costs me later, well, I haven't called in sick for a full day from my human-coded day job since I started working from home. I'm happy to break that streak for a little fun and a little entertainment for you guys. Less so for actual migraine pain, but that's probably going to happen anyway. So, today we're looking at the demo for a cybernoir detective game called the Grant Grover Anthology by BitStorm Games. This is their first game, so I'm curious to see what they're doing with it. I've seen a few different cyberpunk detective games, but this is the first one that's actually interested me enough to pick up the demo. We play as Grant Grover, one of the few remaining people without cybernetic augmentation in a not too pleasant looking cyberpunk city in the 22nd century. From the looks of things, it's good old-fashioned detective work in a world that I guess gave that up for more technological solutions, and might be a fairly interesting commentary on where we are at the moment with, like, AI. It's not that I'm against transhumanism, by the way. I wear glasses and carry a cane, and while it's low-tech, it's still technically technology augmenting what I am capable of. But beyond the actual game fun, the point of stories like this is to explore what can, and more to the point should, be augmented or replaced by technology. To help us as individuals figure out where we personally draw that line so we can better fight for what we want when the rest of the world tries to force us one way or the other in that particular decision. So, let's take a little trip into the future. His being without cybernetics tells us a few things about where and how Grant Grover draws his line, so let's see where we'll draw ours on the evidence presented. Sitting comfortably? Good. Then we'll begin. Looks like it's doing individual cases rather than specifically linear narrative structure, but obviously because it's a demo, only one is unlocked. So we're looking at, yeah, this sounds very noir. This is this is pulp noir titles right there. So let's see what the Echo Runs Deep is all about. Grant Grover, an unaugmented detective in a city of cybertech, is on the hunt for a potentially dangerous device stolen from his client. Gameplay style. So, they give a whole little blurb here. Visual novel, point-and-click adventure. Story by Ben Slinger and Trevor Scott. Written by Ben Slinger. Thank you for letting me know. I always like to know who writes these things. This is like four-man studio. This is great. Writing assistance by Aubrey Jones. Theme by... I'm assuming that's a U. It's kind of hard to tell with the font, but Hugo Moreau. Fun fact, originally written in 1 week for the Brackley's Game Jam 2025.2, where it was rated in the top 6% of over 2,500 games. Go you guys! Okay. Let's see what this top 6% game looks like, shall we? Assuming it doesn't crash, that doesn't look particularly promising. Why have we gone back to the... Wait, where did you go? What is going on? I think it may have crashed upon me. What are you doing, you bastard machine? Ah, no, there it goes. Waiting for the program to respond. There we go. Left click or space to start. Oh, yeah, that's definitely noir and a little blurry in the, oh, this is not fun for my migraine kind of way. Let's see, what do the settings look like? Video, audio, gameplay, typing sound enabled, typing speed, font type, default. Do we have anything? What system? it doesn't seem to change either way. Okay, pause. Let's give it a start. I'm back in the office of Sabine Hughes. Despite the pleasantly tech-free environment, I don't want to be here. The therapist's office is tidy. Smells like my childhood. None of the metallic scents of technology that usually fill the air. In Neo-Narm, I don't fit in. The people here embrace cybertech and augmentations. I can't get away from it. I can tell I'm not hiding it well. Grant, good to see you again. I know these sessions have been difficult for you. This is the last one you're required to attend, but I would really encourage you to continue this therapy. I'll think about it. I won't. Gumshoe has mandated this series of professional reflection sessions as a requirement for being able to take on more cases, and all I care about is getting back on the job. Oh, Mr. Hard-Boiled, go you! I tried therapy in my younger days. One of those bots that would read your brainwaves and make suggestions based off the statistical happiness levels of those with similar brains. Oh dear gods, this does sound exactly like what they do. Okay, hang on. Why are you not capturing the game? What's going on? I know there's supposed to be a picture to this, but it ain't happening. Okay, and I am hopefully back. Yes, I am back. I figured out what happened. Apparently, something in their code was wonky enough that it made the game, the case, I guess you'd call it, an entirely different window of its own. And yeah, no, I think the four-man team who coded this need to have a look at maybe seeing if they can't get the case window to be the same as the opening window, because what happened was it basically has two windows running. One is a blank one that was supposed to be the main title screen, I guess you'd call it, and then the rest of it, the actual mission, is on a completely different window, so that messed up my stream big time. So, whoopsie, sorry about that. So let's, we've basically got to hard-boiled dick type individual, basically going, telling the therapist he'll think about continuing the sessions, and going, you begin again. I'll probably have to cut a whole bunch of this out of the VOD. Anyway, I won't. Gumshoe has mandated this series of professional reflection sessions as a requirement for being able to take on more cases, and all I care about is getting back on the job. I tried therapy in my younger days. One of those bots that would read your brain waves and make suggestions based on the statistical happiness levels of those with similar brains. You know, I can see AI doing this, and it terrifies me. Especially with Elon Musk's stupid brain chip thing. Blech. It was all a scam. Yes, okay. Yeah, we're talking about the same thing here. But I need to pay my rent. No choice but to play along. Let's review your case one more time before we get started. You were working on a case for Gumshoe, is that right? Do we really have to go over this again? Sabine looks at me with a mix of frustration and amusement. Trust the process, Grant. We've had 4 sessions already, and you haven't been able to share anything about your last case. All I know is that something happened to trigger Gumshoe's liability algorithm and send you here to me. Liability algorithm? Oh, dear God. Yeah, no, this is very much this has a message. Okay. Sabine is right. I haven't shared anything about that case. Not because I don't want to, but because I can't. It was an asset retrieval job, I remember that much. The details are fuzzy, and there are periods of time that are completely blank. Also, hi Grant. Other Grant. Real life Grant. I'm not used to my mind failing me in that way. It's a concern. Well, yeah, no kidding! I can't remember a lot from the case. He's a gumshoe type. I'll be stoic. I'm actually fine, but I need to be able to work. Gumshoe needs a full case report and your sign-off. The only way to do that is to get back those memories. Sabine looks confident and calm. Perhaps she really can help me? Do I allow myself that smidgen of hope? It's a noir. Probably not, but you'll probably kind of end up doing it anyway just because we need the angst. Again, noir. You're anxious to get back to work. I understand that. If you're open to it, I'd like to try a new technique that may help. I don't love the idea of being experimented on, but at this stage it doesn't feel like I have a choice. How will it work? Well, if you had OGs, we would be able to access your memories directly from your internal storage, and you'd be out of here in no time. It's okay, my practice is a safe space for the unaugmented. In fact, it's my specialty. It does make things a bit trickier, but I have some methods. Let her continue. Since we can't directly replay your memories, I'll use external stimuli to induce a state of consciousness that'll allow me to direct you to the memories of the case and relive them. Your mind is going to fight back. There's a reason the memories in question have been repressed, but I'll be able to guide you through it. Okay, this is an interesting framing setup for something like this. I'll be able to hear you while I'm reliving these memories. Yes, I'll be here every step of the way. Just to me, everything you're experiencing, every little detail will help. Are you ready to get started? I stay quiet. This was going to happen anyway. No point in helping it along. Great. Just put this headset on. It's okay. It's not invasive. I'm just going to play some specific sequences of light and sound as I direct you to your memories of the case. That's a fucking VR helmet. Alright, focus on my voice. I'm going to run a quick test. We're going to see if we can start with the most recent missing memory. The Gumshoe log file says your asset delivery was marked complete by your client at Old Fed Square. Is that right? That sounds familiar, but I can't recall it directly. Okay, let me go to level 2 here, and we'll see if we can jog anything loose. Looks like you were trying to recover something called the Bellbird? An intense pain burst suddenly behind my eyes. I feel you, fam. No, turn it off! Turn it off! Sorry, I obviously pushed too hard. You okay? I'm okay now. Don't do that again, please. I won't, but this means we're going to have to start earlier. The framing actually feels a little bit more like a much less further back in time kind of self-focused version of Assassin's Creed. Because I have a feeling that what's going to happen next is that the game as we play it is going to be us walking through the memory. Just like what's his face? The framing guy who kind of died but kind of didn't, then kind of did for the first few Assassin's Creed games. Desmond, that's it. I knew it was a D something. I've got too many D names for guys rattling around up in here. Anyway, I won't, but this means we're going to have to start earlier. Let's go back to when you took the case and move forward from there. Where were you? Oh, it's in my office. Yeah, see, here we go. I was short on cash and desperate for a new case. Not unusual for me. Just when I was down to my last drop of patience, the job came through. On the Gumshoe app, right? Yeah, I'm a premium Gumshoe now that I got my rating over 4 stars. I wasn't about to risk a strike by moonlighting on some other app. I squinted into the too bright screen as I read through the job description. It was an asset recovery job. The client's property was stolen, and they needed me to track it down and retrieve it. What was the asset? That's what was strange. The job had very little detail about what I was supposed to be recovering. All it said was that it was called the Bellbird. Oof, that pain is back. Nowhere near as bad as before, though. Are you okay to continue? Yes, let's keep going. You're doing great. What did you do next? My eyes tried to pass over the photo of my son Jeremy, but were drawn back to it almost against my will. Hadn't spoken to him in years. Not for lack of trying, but as he got older, he got more and more augments installed, and it drove a wedge between us. I didn't blame him. The city was punishing for those who weren't augmented. A lot of good people had been driven out because they refused to fill their bodies with metal. But it was different for the younger generation. They didn't know anything else. Let's see what the whiskey looks like. I poured a big glass of whiskey and took a sip, okay? When I take on a new job, I like to give myself a moment to contemplate the information before I hit the streets. Give it some time to really sink in. You're kind of old school, you know that? Is that a compliment? Of course, I appreciate the old ways, before we had so much data being pumped into our heads. Why do you think I work with the unaugmented like yourself? I went over the job description again and realized there was a note from the client. They'd used a black market tech dealer as a go-between to have the Bellbird built. They hadn't given me a name, just said they found them on the net. Do your cases often start with so little to go on? Gumshoe has a word limit when you submit your case. Oh dear gods, of course it fucking does. You can pay extra to add more detail, but that automatically signs you up to their Gumshoe Supreme tier, so most clients leave the bare minimum. Dear gods! Most of the job might be done on the streets, but sometimes I have no choice but to hit the exo and do some research. Search ExoNet for Bellbird. I punched Bellbird into the basic exo search and got back a flurry of pictures of birds from South America. Possibly the farthest thing from a device made in Neo-Narm, Australia. I did find one tidbit interesting, though. The white bellbird holds the record for the world's loudest bird. I just thought that was neat. Question loan informants. I checked in on all the black market group chats I'd managed to slide into. Most dealers just rode on the back of the underground aug extraction industry, fencing stolen implants and pirated aug. So we're throwing in a little bit of Repo the Genetic Opera as well. I was able to narrow down a short list of dealers who handled expensive commissions, but it was still too many to visit one by one. Local tech dealers. It was unlikely that a legitimate tech reseller would have dealt with a commission like this, but in the depths of the ExoNet, even black market tech dealers can advertise their services. I put together a list of dealers. It was a long list, so I'd have to find some other way to narrow it down. Cross-reference lists. Gumshoe provides tools to help with investigations. The on-device versions are buggy and unsupported compared to their augware counterparts, but I make do. I fed the list from the informants and the list of tech dealers into their app. It spat out one name. Somebody called Arlo Alberink, working out in North Neo-Narm. I had my lead. Time to track down Arlo Alberink, the tech dealer. It didn't take much more research to find the precise location of Arlo's business. They had a reputation for both high-quality goods and a reckless attitude to security. I grabbed a cab droid over to their storefront to pay them a visit. I approached Arlo's shopfront with caution, but it was unnecessary. Their shopfront was bright and gaudy, their illegal wares on display for everybody to see. Clearly this was not a person who was concerned about the law. There was a small figure moving energetically around the shop, bouncing from person to person as they walked past. They had short hair cropped on one side and were dressed in a well-fitting suit. Combined with the welcoming smile on their face, they looked completely out of place on this dreary street. They spotted me as I approached and began talking before I could get a word out. Oh gods. Hey friend, can I trouble you for a minute? You look like someone in need of an AUG stabilizer. Got some fresh ones right here, fully charged and everything. No, I don't need any of that. I'm unaugmented. Arlo's wide grin faltered, then became a mild frown. I see. Well, what exactly are you here for, then? I am looking for a gift for my son. For a private detective, you're a pretty poor liar. What therapeutic technique are you using when you insult me in the middle of a session? Sorry. Arlo's frown deepened. I don't think they believed me. Sure you are. Well, I'm here if you have any questions. I'll be watching you. One set of shelves was covered in stacks of robotic parts, limbs tangled up in meters of wiring, and even the occasional head eerily looking out from the mist. How do you, replace your head? How does that work? No, fuck it. Sorry, I don't want to know. Arlo saw me looking and came over. Are you here because of something to do with a faulty robot? Oh, okay, I know that makes sense for the... But still, you can't blame me for thinking. Because I only sell parts, I don't do full rebuilds. No, just checking to make sure nothing here was powered up. I've had some bad experiences with half-built droids before. They can be dangerous. I found that droids can often read the character of people pretty well. Arlo clearly had not forgiven me for my initial deception. I tried a little humor to lighten the mood. Well, I was coming at them with a screwdriver at the time. It didn't work. No, because... read the room! Do you usually spend this much time with an informant before getting to the point? It's better if I can gain their trust a bit before diving deep for information. Sounds like the jokes weren't working. Yeah, no kidding. I was drawn to a shelf that seemed to be covered in weapon parts, triggers, detonators, power cells. This was some dangerous stuff. Ah, you looking for some personal protection? I only sell parts, but I can put you in touch with a good engineer who will build anything to your specification. Ah, you should question them about that. I'm just telling you what I remember. I'm assuming you don't want me to start writing fan fiction. This world has fanfic. Of course, fan fiction is never dying. Then again, fan fiction has probably been going on since long before the Trekkie housewives, the Spurk housewives were sending each other typewritten versions by post. I imagine that somewhere in some very, very old journals, there are a terrible lot of fix-it fics written by people who were very, very, very sad when Sherlock Holmes went over Reichenbach Falls. That, quite aside from the angry letters some people wrote. Sorry, I just got carried away in the excitement of the case. Continue. I don't like to carry a weapon. When I'm dealing with a tense situation, I don't need extra variables to deal with. Unarmed. Good to know. Okay, no, this guy is more than just unaugmented. He's stupid. You've just told this man that you're willing to this individual, sorry, it's a they, that you're willing to lie. So obviously not here for anything good for this person, and unarmed. Why did we do that? Why am I playing an idiot? Somebody please explain to me why I'm playing an idiot. I had obviously misstepped by leading Arlo on. If I wanted to get any answers out of them, I was going to have to find a way to get back on their good side. Otis. A man stood off to the side of the stall, staring off into space. He was clearly heavily drunk, and every few seconds he would lean to one side and nearly fall, only to catch himself at the last second. Sir, could I ask you some questions? Huh? What's your name? What? Arlo came over to intervene. Why are you harassing my customers? I wasn't. I'm just trying to get some answers. We won't get anything out of old Otis anyway. He likes to come around to browse through my stuff, and occasionally he'll pick up a bootleg porno memcam or something. Oh, dear gods. I hadn't even thought of that. As Arlo spoke, I noticed the telltale light from Otis's AUG port that showed he was in the middle of playing back a memory recording. Doesn't it hurt your business to have him loitering here? He is mostly harmless. It's not exactly in line with the brand I'm trying to project, though, so maybe you're right. You think you can get rid of him for me? I can't be seen pushing customers out of my store. Hey, it's Otis, right? Huh? Your name is Otis? Arlo says you come here sometimes. What? I realized the light in his AUG port was still on. He was barely even hearing me. The porno cam was overriding most of his senses. Dude, if you're watching a porno cam, why aren't you someplace where you can do something about it? Probably because you're too drunk to do anything about it anyway. Can you turn that off for a second? He just stared through me. I will poke him in the og port. I stepped behind him and, lining up carefully, jabbed him right in the og port. The light immediately turned red, and Otis jerked as if he'd been electrocuted. Huh? What? Whoa, some guy just came up and attacked you from behind. Who? I don't know, but he was carrying a huge bottle of booze. Oh my god! You should probably go deal with him. Otis looked confused, but slowly a determined look came over him. Yeah, gotta go. He left into the night. Your troublesome customer is gone. Can we talk now? Arlo shrugged. Fine, shoot. Okay, listen, I'm here about a custom-built device you sold to a client of mine. Does the bellbird sound familiar to you? Arlo paused for a second, their expression frozen on their face. When they spoke again, it was quietly through clenched teeth. We can't talk about that in the open. Come into the back room. Okay, so I've just told this individual that I'm a liar, I'm unarmed, and now he wants to lead me to a secondary location. There are Mulaney quotes about this! The two of us went deeper into Arlo's shop, to a small office in the back. Arlo shifted from the cheerful salesperson into a more serious tone. And you just left all of your wares unsupervised, you stupid idiot. Look, I don't want to get into trouble. I made a lot of money negotiating that deal between the buyer and the seller, but they both wanted to keep it very hush-hush. It was a weird bit of tech, though, and the fact you're asking about it means something went wrong, right? It was stolen from the client. I'm trying to find it. Ah, shit. Well, if it'll keep the buyer from trying to get a refund, I'll tell you what I know. I'll look around the shop first. Oh, no, wait. Shit, no. No, that's not what I meant to do. Okay, good. Yep. So we have to go back. Sorry, I thought that looking around the shop meant the back room. Anyway, yes. So we'll go back through this again. We'll start with what could the device do? I only had it for a short time and I wasn't about to take it apart, so I don't know for sure. It definitely had a closed spectrum transmitter that could target augmentation frequencies, though, like the hacking devices that often come through here. That means it could be used to decode the encryption on somebody's augs and get into some of the subsystems. Most people have additional protections in place, though, so usually they can't do much damage before they're discovered. And I am now remembering that we discovered that the white bellbird has the loudest call of any bird. So I have a feeling I know what this does. The bellbird, though, that transmitter was wide range. Like it was designed to target a whole area instead of a specific person. There you go. I don't know what the intention of such a device would be or how it would even work, but I've never seen anything like it before. Who was the seller? They didn't even give me their name, but they said they were working on behalf of the engineer who built the device. Arlo hesitated, as if deciding whether to continue. I think I know who the engineer was, though. How do you know? Look, I see a lot of tech come through this place, and it may surprise you to know that not all of it is exactly legitimate. I gave Arlo a look of mock disbelief. Yeah, so it's not exactly a secret. My point is, there's some tech flying around this city that can do some pretty nasty stuff. Aug hacking to control people's body, worms that spread through the central network to steal data, all sorts of things. When you see that much custom tech, you start to get a feel for those who create it. Everybody has a signature. Some of it's physical, in the way they solder a wire or polish the surface. Some of it is even directly intentional, with engineers leaving their actual signature on a device. But the most subtle is in the design of a device, the logic used to construct wires and chips and lights into a functional piece of tech. And based on what I saw, there was only one engineer who could have built the Bellbird. Arlo takes a breath. I'll let them have their dramatic moment. Arlo pauses for another moment. Niobe Metaxa, ex-Mindsec lead engineer, summarily fired when she tried to sneak a back door into an ethically dubious piece of ad software. She has a workshop on the other side of town. I'll give you the address. I've heard of this Metaxa person. She's a real piece of work. Built all sorts of insidious augs when she was working at Mindsec. I've had my own dealings with Mindsec. They're certainly not the most ethical bunch. Anyway, that's all I can tell you. I hope you can track down the Bellbird. I'll thank them. I'll be polite. I can be polite. Thanks for your help, Arlo. I'll go talk to Niobe and see what I can find out. I arrived at the address Arlo had given me. It was an unassuming apartment in the mid-blocks of the city. A family neighborhood, not where you'd expect a weapons engineer to be working from. When I approached Niobe's door, a red glow came from the door panel, locked. I will knock. I rapped on the door. I realized slightly too late that I had almost certainly made her suspicious by not using the screen beside the door. Old habits. That's slightly less suspicious than breaking in, though. Niobe Metaxa, I have some questions for you. I heard movement inside, coming toward the door. It opened a crack, enough so I could see a single eye peeking through suspiciously. What do you want? Grant Grover, P.I. Are you Niobe Metaxa? I might be. Engineer of a device known as the Bellbird? Her eyes widened and she opened the door just enough to pull me inside. Get in here! If the outside was unassuming and inconspicuous, then the inside was anything but. The apartment was loosely organized, with containers of parts labeled and stacked on shelves across the room. Oh dear gods, it's a Miche apartment. A large workbench took up one wall, with lamps and magnifiers in place above it, and status lights from various power supplies and diagnostic tools dotted across the bench. A crumpled blanket lay in one corner, with half-eaten food packets scattered around it. Clearly Niobe had made this her makeshift home while she worked. How did you find me so quickly? That's not important. The Bellbird. You know where it is? Of course I do, but I can't let you have it. She ran at me and took a swing. Okay. It was barely a tap, but before I could turn to face her again, she had a wire around my neck. I'd fallen for a classic feint, and I had the disadvantage. I ran backward, forcing her to keep up to avoid tripping. The impact of the wall made her tighten the wire around my neck, and I gasped, but another thump against the wall forced her to loosen her grip and gave me an opportunity. I turned and smashed my elbow against the side of her head, taking her to the ground, then quickly tied her wrist to a heavy chair with the wire she'd attacked me with. Now that she wasn't attacking me, I could get a good look at Niobe. She had long white hair tied back in a bun. Her features were striking, even with the scowl plastered across them. She was wearing simple, loose-fitting, comfortable clothing, and a small tool belt that held a number of screwdrivers, laser cutters, and other devices. She sounds like an impressive woman. Don't get me wrong, I got lucky. I'm no stranger to the occasional brawl, but she was ready to put me down. I crouched down so I could look her in the eye when we spoke. I'm not here to hurt you, and I'm preferably not here to get hurt. Well, I clearly failed at that anyway, didn't I? She looked frustrated and embarrassed. Look, I'm not a cop or working for a corpo. I'm just looking for some answers. I have no reason to turn you in or get you in trouble. She squinted slightly, appraising me. I wondered if her augments were reading my expressions for signs of deception. Whatever the method, she seemed to decide I was trustworthy enough. Okay, ask your questions, but I'm not telling you where the Bellbird is. I've been chasing this Bellbird like a dog after a bone, but I don't even know what it is or what it can do. If anyone can enlighten me, it's you. Niobe perked up slightly, clearly proud of her work. Well, that's true. Nobody else could have built it, that's for sure. What's so special about it? What do you know about augmentation encryption protocols and targeted pulse hacking? Nothing. I don't even have augs myself. Niobe looked vaguely disgusted. Then you have no chance of understanding this. Try me. Okay, so Augs need security, right? Otherwise it can be hacked to do all sorts of shit. Fuck with the victims, steal their data, mine crypto, you name it. It's a whole cat and mouse industry between security companies and hackers. Security companies like Mindsec, I've had some dealings with them in the past. Mindsec, Neurolock, WavePro, sure. They all compete to give people peace of mind. Now, most hacks can only target a single person, but the Bellbird scales that up, yeah. Mass parallel decryption of everybody in the area, filtering the targets on user-defined criteria. Combine that with the tracking built into every consumer-level AUG app that provides second-by-second metrics, and you can filter based on whatever you want. You want to hack people making $300K a year who are going through a divorce and had a bagel for breakfast? The Bellbird can do it. I'll ask her. Who was the client who commissioned the Bellbird? Oh, come on, man. I've already burned my bridges with them, clearly. But if it gets out that I'm not keeping confidentiality, nobody will want to hire me. Niobe glanced almost imperceptibly over to a pair of glasses lying on the floor, then quickly back at me. If you won't tell me, I guess I'll have to get it directly from your systems. How do you plan to do that without augments? My whole system is augmented reality, only accessible through the exonet. Where is the Bellbird? I've been hired to return it to my client. Our client. I built it for them, remember? Sure. Why would I tell you where it is? You stole it back from the client, right? I put anti-tampering alarms in all my builds, and this one started pinging me right after they took it off my hands. This thing needs a lot of power to do what it does, and I realized if they broke my safeguards, they could do some real damage to their hack targets. I built it to be used against corpo types, people who can afford to lose a few bucks or be brought down a peg. But I don't want anybody to get hurt, so I took my property back. After taking the money as well, I note. So, had they managed to get through your safeguards? They've certainly busted it open and done something. This thing is a mess. Amateurs. I haven't had time to figure out exactly what they were doing in there, though. And where is it now? Nice try. You'll have to tear this place apart before I tell you what it is. She glanced again at the glasses on the floor. I may not be the best PI out there, but I can tell when somebody's trying to hide something. What are those glasses you keep looking at? Huh? Oh, they're nothing. Don't worry about them. Niobe may be a brilliant engineer, but she's a terrible liar. Worse than you, even. So you won't mind if I put them on. Fine, they're AR glasses. I have them for clients without AUG so they can review the plans. Glasses on. I picked up the glasses and put them on. Oh, hello. The room lit up with displays and readouts, only visible in the augmented world. If this is what I was missing out on, I was glad to be unaugmented. I could almost feel the lasers blasting light directly onto my retinas. Stay here. I'm gonna find this thing. Then we're going to talk. This was it. Oh, first click. Schematics of the Bellbird device, initial specifications from the client, everything Niobe had for this job. The technical stuff didn't mean much to me, but it seemed to match up with what Niobe had told me about the Bellbird's designed goal. The schematics didn't matter anyway, I just needed to know where this thing was. I scanned through pages and pages of documents detailing the deal Niobe had made with her client. Specifications, deposit amounts, changes to the software, it was all here. Everywhere I looked, though, it was just the client, no mention of a name. Eventually, I came across a folder titled IRL Scans, which contained scanned versions of paper documents. Unusual for somebody as connected as Niobe. So, did you find the name of the client in those documents? I had. No, I didn't. I didn't dare say it out loud in the psychologist's office. Halfway through the files, there was a scribbled note with some requested changes, and it was written on letterhead I recognized. Sabine Hughes, psychotherapist. That's a shame. Let's continue. Okay, what the fuck? Of course, she doesn't like augments either, does she? I'll look at the technical specifications anyway. I tried to make more sense of the technical specifications of the Bellbird. I pulled up a 3D schematic and rotated it. It was a circular disc a couple of centimeters tall, packed with tech I had no reference for. Pulse arrays, wireless handshake protocols, capacitance accelerators. I was no engineer, that's for sure. I could tell it was a slick piece of technology, and Niobe had the eye of a product designer. Brushed metal and recessed buttons gave it the look of one of those old pre-aug music devices. It looks like a freaking Discman. Niobe had said she had tracking devices in all her hardware, so I knew there must be a way to find it. I fumbled my way through the interface till I found a screen that showed the current location and zoomed in as far as I could. Wow, the resolution of this tracking device is impressive, Niobe. Niobe sighed. Damn it! The bellboard was pinging from a location a meter or so to my right, exactly where Niobe was tied up. She had it on her. And look at the other displays. The glasses detected the augmentations in Niobe's body and gave me readouts of the publicly available information about her. Her age, 32, recent jobs, mindset engineer, recently fired, relationship status, single, and a bunch of other data points that were useless to me floated around her head. I couldn't believe people walked around like this every day. One monitor showed schematics for some sort of intracranial augmentation that plugged directly into the brainstem. From what I knew of modern augs, most were just computers that learned your behaviors and projected images onto your retinas, sound directly into your eardrums, that sort of thing. This seemed to go further than that, interacting with the nerve system directly. I shuddered, thinking about what sort of control it could have over those who used it. What's this you're building? I can't tell you that. I'm under enforced NDA. It's nothing to do with the bellbird. Enforced NDA? What's that? I have augware that tracks everything I say, write, or do. If I break the NDA, it reports to the client and I lose the job, not to mention being exposed to a massive lawsuit. Sounds stressful. Niobe just shrugged. There were displays on the shelves showing the location of various parts and how many there were, as well as hardware in various stages of construction. Nothing particularly useful to me. What are you working on here? Niobe sighed. Commissions, standard stuff, holographic decoys, memory injectors, high-capacity storage devices. Work I can do with my eyes closed. Must be nice when something comes along that really challenges you, huh? Are you trying to ask me if I'm proud of my work on the bellbird? 'Cause hell yeah, I am. That thing is cutting edge. Okay, and that's everything. Niobe just glared silently at me. She wasn't going to give me anything, so I needed to find it myself. Can you just go now? I mean, untie me first, but I can't leave without the bellbird, I'm sorry, and I know you have it on you. But I told you, it could be dangerous. Niobe, I know, but if I don't return this to the client, I failed the job, and I just can't afford to do that. I'll talk to the client. I'll ask them how they modify the bellbird. If it looks like they're going to misuse it, I won't give it to them. I'll take that loss. But chances are they just want to use it like you said, right? They're probably going to hack into some corpo execs and blackmail them or something. I guess this is what it was designed for, after all. Niobe looked resigned. Okay, fine, and you won't tell them it was me who stole it? You have my word. Niobe reached into her jacket, how when I tied her hands to a chair, and took out a small, round, flat device. I suppose I could have only tied one hand to the chair? Anyway, it looked just like it did in the schematic. The edges were black glass. One of the flat sides had an array of buttons set into the polished metal. It was a beautiful piece of engineering. Thank you, Niobe. I'll leave to meet the client. I quickly untied Niobe, and she stood back, rubbing her wrists. I've got to go. I'll let you know what happens. Be careful, Grant. I left to meet my client. I sent my client an update on Gumshoe. They quickly replied with the location to hand over the device. Old Fed Square in the middle of town, a busy public area. I guess they wanted the ability to be inconspicuous and get away quickly if necessary. I knew they were planning something illegal, but a job is a job. If some corpo types lose some money, it's no skin off my nose. How did you feel about betraying Niobe like that? Sometimes you have to do hard things as part of the job. You have to be hard. I didn't have any other choice. I arrived at the location and sat down at the meeting point. As expected, the place was teeming with people going about their business. They stood around in various groups, chatting and laughing. It wasn't long before somebody sat next to me. I turned to face them, but their face was covered with a mask. I didn't recognize them. I suspected the mask was emitting a jamming signal too, so any camera droids or visual augmentations would see a mess of static where their head should be. You have the bellbird? They were using a digital voice changer. Made them sound like a gravelly voiced droid. I have it, but I need to ask you a few questions first. What are you planning to do with it? I'm going to send a message, Grant. A message to the world. What sort of message? The people need to know they've been forced to consume a false narrative, a reality that is controlled by the corporations and those who live at the top. They have willingly taken the enemy into our own bodies, into their minds, and given away their power of free will and thought. I plan to show the world the dangers of continuing down this path. I've been told that you might have removed some safeguards, turned this into a weapon rather than a tool. Oh yes, that was a happy little accident I found while making the device work more to my taste. My original plan was to bore my message into the brains of my targets, ready to infiltrate their thoughts and spread from the ground up. With the power source on this device and the ability to break into so many OGs at once, I can send a much stronger message. Who are you? Their chest heaved a little and a strange grating sound came out of their mouth. I realized it was a voice changer trying to filter their laugh. There's no good reason for you to know that. Let's just call me a friend to people like yourself. Private eyes? No. In fact, you are fairly unique in your field, Mr. Grover. Most PIs shove as much tech into their heads as they can get to get an advantage on the apps. But you are clean, untainted. Jokes have not been funny, I'll be serious. You're talking about my lack of augments. That's not a specific choice I made. My body rejects them. Oh, interesting. That may be true, but you see the unfiltered world all the same. Like me. That's exactly why I can't give it to you. You know I can mark this job failed if you don't, right? A 1-star gumshoe review will keep you on dirty jobs for years to come before you pull yourself back out again. I know, but I can't let you use it. Stealing data from corpo folks is one thing, but hurting them is another. Oh, Grant, what makes you think I'm using it to filter for corpo executives? What makes you think I've turned the filter on at all? No, my message will go out to everybody with an augmentation in their head in a 5-block radius. And at full power, it will burn the circuitry right out of their brains. I gasped. They were a bigger threat than I'd realized. I don't even need you to hand it over. I just needed it to be in range of this. The client pulled a small remote device from their pocket and pushed the button. No! The bellbird in my pocket suddenly felt very hot. I pulled it out to see it lit along the entire rim, a thin whining sound emitting from it as it grew brighter. Well, that's a noise. All of a sudden, the whining cut out, and a single bright pulse emitted from the device before it fell dark. I looked around the crowded square as every person dropped to the floor, sparks fizzing from their ears. Dear gods, no wonder he blocked out that memory! The only 2 people left alive were the client and me. You see, Grant, you're untainted, clean, and so have not been forsaken. What have you done? What have I done? We've sent a message, Grant, you and I. The citizens will think twice before letting the enemy into their minds again, and those elsewhere in the city will see this and desperately remove the traces of tech from their bodies. Next thing I remember is waking up at home. I must have walked home in a daze. The job was marked complete and paid out by Gumshoe, but the details were already fading at that point. I take off the headset. Good. I wouldn't want to be wearing it given who that is either. And you never saw the face of your client, this terrorist? No, I never saw their face. This is interesting. probably gonna get me killed, but I'm gonna let... I brace myself for what's about to happen. But I know it was you, Sabine. My voice is quiet, but my anger is real and obvious. Sabine freezes, staring at me. It feels like a minute before she speaks again. I knew you were too smart not to have figured it out. She speaks in a thin, hard voice. She feels like a different person than the friendly psychologist leading me through my memories. My name was in the documents, wasn't it? I thought I'd covered my tracks and stayed anonymous, but I clearly made a mistake. I could have killed you at any time, you know, but I wanted to give you a chance. You're like me. No augments, no demons in your head, no corporations reading your mind and dumbing you down. I'm nothing like you, Sabine. I could never have done what you did. Yes, I guess that's true. You don't have the strength of will to make that sort of sacrifice. I can't hold myself together any longer. My anger and outrage spill over. Sacrifice? You didn't sacrifice anything, Sabine. You murdered hundreds of innocent people. They were all puppets. They were people! I realize I'm up and standing over Sabine. The fury is dripping from me. She hasn't moved, hasn't spoken. When she does, her voice is quiet and calm. I will have no trouble killing you too, Grant. You know I can't let you leave now. I sit back down, bring myself back in control. The police droids already have the place surrounded, Sabine. Finally, a reaction from her. She stands and looks out her window, and I see the red and blue lights pulse across her face. No! How? I may not have augments, but I'm pretty handy with my phone. I texted them while you were focused on the story. You don't think I'd be so stupid as to tell you what I knew without some backup, did you? Sabine sinks back into her chair, defeated. Then she looks up at me and smiles. Still, I got my message out, didn't I? Change is coming. I jerk backwards in surprise as a burly police droid smashes the door in and puts Sabine in cuffs. She doesn't break eye contact the whole time as she's dragged out the door. And she doesn't stop smiling. And these are the dudes. The dudes need a little work on some of the coding because, as I say, it should all stay in the same window for, like, streamers, like, you know, me. So that I don't wind up interrupting my stream, like, just as I'm about to start the actual game. But, you know, that's something I'm sure they'll work out, and I can more than likely... I mean, they're both on Blue Sky. I should actually let them know I did this. I'll click onto that for later. And that for later. But, I mean, apart from that minor issue with the whole window hopping thing, that... And I'm fairly proud of myself for having it. I mean, probably, maybe, I don't know. What happened was that there was the title page with the different cases on it. I clicked on the case that's available for the demo, and apparently it launched a new window and seems to have shut the other one, so that obviously OBS was tracking the name of the original window. And now this window has a different name. So I guess you could qualify that title page as a launcher. It seems a little... but I'll be on Blue Sky. I'll actually remember to post the fact that I did the review of this and where the VOD is to Blue Sky so they can see what happened. I mean, not entirely, because I'm going to cut that out of the VOD when I edit it, but aside from that, the art style was interesting. You know, obviously not... We're not talking, you know, cyberpunk here, but it definitely did the job. The story was pretty good. I noticed a couple of little typing niggles, but not too many that were big enough to comment on. And overall, yeah, I think this one is very much going on the wish list. I just hope they fix that whole launcher thing first, because the other thing it does is, however they coded it, I've noticed some games do this more than others, had my had my virus software going, we're checking this over because this looks weird. But since it doesn't do that with all games, I imagine it's something in the code that makes them look a little harder at it to go, are you a virus? No, you're just something. But that also wonks with the with the Windows, etc. as well. So they might potentially want to look into that too. But from a game standpoint, I like the fact that they brought in little clues so that if it rewarded poking around, like the thing about the bellbird, you find out pretty much straight at the beginning what that device must do, just because of that neat little factoid about white bellbirds. So you're like, oh, okay, by the time you get there. And the twist about who we were dealing with, it didn't come as a surprise so much as a clever girl kind of a thing, because they've set them up to be friendly and very in tune with how you think, but they never explain why Grant doesn't have augments. And it's funny, everything he says, up to and including the bit about his son, leads you to believe that he just doesn't approve of them. But when he explains that it's because his body rejects them, you start reassessing the comments that he made and going, was this his way of coping? Like, did he try to get fitted for an implant, have the whole rejection thing? And believe me, I don't imagine that your body rejecting a bit of tech is that much different than your body rejecting a transplant organ, depending on what it's gonna... particularly if it's something to do with the brain, is going to flood you with junk data at minimum. And if it's a tissue rejection issue, rejection's ugly. Take it from a histology typist. So he must have had to cope being like, okay, this is going to cripple me in today's world. I will be, I guess, a neo-boomer. The whole ones old man yells at cloud with his kid going, okay, boomer, kind of thing. And that was his downfall. If he just dealt with how he felt about not being able to have augments just because his system doesn't take to them well, he might not have lost the relationship with his son, and might not have been, I don't know, quite at the mercy of how Sabine kind of lured him in to figure out what he remembered about the whole thing. Because it's pretty clear that she started right after his memory loss, so right after that case. So she must have been keen to check his memories to see you had no idea it was me. Except, well... But it also put them as a kind of a two sides of the same coin thing. One couldn't have them and decided, I'm just gonna turn my nose up at them. The other just didn't want them and really saw them as the kind of evil that, okay, much more hardcore than Grant did, but it's a whole big thing, and it's an interesting story from that level, and I actually would have liked it if the case had been longer, because I think they could have done a little bit more with it. But this does seem to be a framework of old pulp noir novels. So you get little short cases. Still could have been a little bit longer. Maybe speaking to, like, maybe another suspect or two. A little more messing with the set dressing. But it's a demo. You can't expect miracles. So, yeah, I probably going to say a lot of this and more when I write up the demo, which I'll be on my Ko-fi page fairly soon, free from any thought of paywall because I do it for the love of the games, and while donations to the Caffeinated Bean Water Fund would be a pleasant surprise, I'd honestly be happy if you just sent other viewers my way if you like what I do, and I don't, mess up too badly. Not my fault this time, though. Anyway, also, the VOD, once I've done some cuts and things to the recording part of it, will go up on YouTube against the time when Twitch must, by necessity, relegate its own stored copy of this VOD to the void. Most of my stuff is available there anyway, so if you want to watch me flail some more about older stuff, you know where to go. Assuming my migraine does not make my eye explode and nothing else eats my traitorous head in the next couple of days, I'll be here on Friday with the demo for a game called High Times, which apparently is a cooking cafe management simulator combined with a dating simulator, all on a base of what looks like the mechanics they used in Tavern Talk. So, it sounds like it's going to be interesting, and I hope to see you there. Until then, or until next, have a good one.